All right. Hi, everybody. If you want, if you want, go ahead and turn on your videos. If not, that's totally fine. Just gonna check one more time here. And then we'll get started. Thanks everybody for joining on a Thursday, late on a Thursday afternoon. All right, I think we've probably got critical mass. These are meant to be smaller meetings so that we have some time to just learn and discuss. So thanks so much for being here. I would love to, no problem, Melissa. I'd love to go around and, since we have such a small group, go around and just name an organization, please. And then we'll go through, we just sort of have a short agenda today. We're in a bit of a holding pattern waiting for the California Department of Technology to get everyone more information on their stakeholder process for the digital equity plan. So we should have more information on that by the end of the month. But I have some resources and things to share with you all. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna go from the top left corner and call on people so I can name an organization. Juan, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. Juan Estrada, I'm with Molina Healthcare. Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. Jennifer Clancy. Oh, Jennifer, I think you might be on mute.
Hi, Jennifer Clancy with California Institute for Behavioral Health Solutions.
Thanks for joining. Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina. I'm from the Primary Care Development Corporation.
Thanks for joining. Mario.
Hi, everybody. Mario Ortega. I'm the CEO with Abrazat. We're a community-based organization in Orange County.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining. Emily from my team.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to keep my camera off. Apologies. I'm experiencing a little bit of Zoom fatigue. I feel like I've been in calls all week, but I'm very happy to be here and support Katie in this role. It's nice to see you guys.
Thanks, Emily. Robbie.
Hi, everyone. Robbie Franceschini with Blue Path Health.
Thanks for joining, Robbie. Melissa, I know your video doesn't work, but hopefully your audio does.
Hopefully it does too. Hi, this is Melissa McCartney. I am with Partnership Healthcare of California.
Thanks for joining. Lily.
Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone. Lily Doran with the Community Clinic Association of Los Angeles County. I might pass it to my colleague who is also from CCLAC.
Sure, please.
Cool.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Alyssa Mohammed-Zadeh. I'm the Policy and Data Analyst at the Community Clinic Association of LA County. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Let's see, Sonal.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sonal Ambigalkar. I'm a consultant for the California Partnership.
Thanks, Sonal. And Jenny.
My name is Jenny Lamb. I'm with Contra Costa County's Area Agency on Aging.
Wonderful. What a great group we have here. Thank you all for joining. I know some of our state partners are probably taking a week off after Labor Day and a really intense end of session. So appreciate you all joining us today. I just wanted to, our agenda today, I want to walk you through a new resource that ITEP has that you can share. It's a broadband toolkit. And then I'd like to take a little bit, we've sort of talked on our last few calls and have resources on our website about why health and human services folks should be involved and paying attention to broadband going on at the state level and in your local communities. But we haven't talked a lot about what's actually going on at the state. I've sort of flashed up there a couple names of the state departments, but I'd love to show you their websites today and just kind of walk you through them so you can just really see all of the resources that they actually already have on there. We've had a little bit of confusion, I think, in in multiple health venues where folks are wondering, where are we in the process? And the process is actually pretty far along. And so I just want to demonstrate that and show you where some of those resources are. As I mentioned, we have a couple more opportunities for you to listen in to the California Broadband Council and the California Middle Mile Advisory Committee. Those meetings are coming up in the next couple of weeks, so I'll show those to you as well. And as I said, we're waiting on the California Department of Technology to come out with their plan for a stakeholder process for developing a state digital equity plan over the next year. They should be receiving federal funds, $4 million to actually create this big stakeholder process. And so a lot of what we're trying to do with these meetings is just show you and get you familiar with what the state has already done and where you might be able to plug in once that process starts. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and just show you this is ITEP's newest publication. We decided to do a broadband and connectivity for better healthcare policy toolkit. This really should have all of sort of the resources that you and your colleagues would ever want to have to sort of get into broadband policy. We have hyperlinks to a multitude of resources, and we've started publishing these policy toolkits. We have one, a couple in other policy areas because we know that there are a ton of resources out there, and we just want them all in one place. Like the idea is that you could just pull this up and go, great, I want to learn about broadband and digital equity today, or I want to learn about digital equity and virtual care. I want to learn about affordable internet and devices, and these are all these are sort of like our top 5-10 people who are actually working on these issues. So I will drop this link in our chat here, and we'll also send this out to all of the participants. But I think this is, when we really tried to pull out our high-level talking points, right? What are those sort of key broadband stats in the state? How does it relate to telehealth, and what do consumers want? And then all of the helpful links that you could possibly want. So hopefully this is a good resource for you, and you can share it. Definitely don't hesitate to share it out. Any questions on that? All right. So this is funny. I'm gonna have to stop here sharing for a second. Get the right one up. It allows me to do this. There we go. So I wanted to start with our, excuse me, Broadband for All homepage. I think when ITEPS first jumped into this, we were on what we do 10 regional working groups a year, and we were in the middle of COVID, and we got up to sort of Shasta and Humboldt County, and somebody on one of those calls piped up and said, the governor has a Broadband for All initiative, don't you? And we said, no, we don't. We actually have no idea. So they've improved their website and resources in the 2 years since then. But we talk a lot about health for all and care for all, and we're making great strides in those areas. But the governor also has a Broadband for All initiative that's really focused on closing the digital divide. And so, just to take a step back, we have several major broadband initiatives going on in the state. I know we've thrown these up on a slide for you, but I just wanted to show you where they live at the state level so you can learn more about them. There's the Broadband for All Action Plan, and it's governed by the governor's executive order that was issued in 2020. And it's governed by the California Broadband Council. They actually went through a big stakeholder process that we sort of caught at the very tail end about 2 years ago, looking at Broadband for All. There's a lot of mention of health and healthcare in that document. And there's sort of a focus, I think, Jenny, this is a little more for you, on older adults, but not really on sort of healthcare writ broad, right? Not virtual care, telehealth, transforming the delivery system. But this is written, at the beginning of COVID. And so all the thinking that informed it happened pre-pandemic, sort of our healthcare's transition to telehealth and virtual care. And so it looks, I think, very different from where I think we collectively are all today. But just, this is what, when you listen into the California Broadband Council, there are action items within this plan. It's an action plan, and they walk through each of those action items. So the Department of Aging reports out on what they're doing on their, 3 action items, as do the other folks. It's a really great way just to have a pulse on what the, on what the government's doing and the direction that they're going. If you click on that, there's a link to the plan. And I'll show you in a minute, when I think the next meeting is October 12th. They meet roughly quarterly, not strictly, but roughly quarterly, and sometimes a little more often. The second piece of this that's really brand new, and you'll see this bill, SB 156. This was a trailer bill, not this past budget year, not this summer, but the summer before, in July 2021. This is where that $6.5 billion investment goes. So over $3 billion of that is meant to go to middle mile infrastructure, and it's essentially the highways, like the major highways, like Interstate 5, Interstate 99. They're partnering with Caltrans, right, who have those road right of ways, and they're putting fiber in the ground. When you click on this, it goes to broadband maps and all kinds of things. And there's a whole advisory committee called when I keep talking about the Middle Mile Advisory Committee, that's where this lives and how it fits with these sort of three pillars of the work that they're doing. They meet monthly. They're very active. And this is really where, where if you work for a hospital or even have, senior community centers, health clinics, this is really where we're trying to get health voices to say, like, hey, you need to build the middle mile so that we can link into it. And then that leads us to last mile and adoption programs. So the last mile are sort of your regional highways. So once you get off Interstate 5 or Interstate 99, there's smaller highways like Highway 4 that go off of these highways. And so that actually gets internet into communities. So it goes off the main hub, gets it into the communities. And so there's actually money here administered by the CPUC, the California Public Utilities Commission, that actually is there to help counties. We call them municipalities. So counties, joint powers authority. It can be multiple counties or multiple governmental entities coming together. Some of the rural counties have actually banded together with over 30 counties to create a joint powers authority and are working directly with the California Public Utilities Commission on building middle mile and last mile connections. There's a lot of money in here for planning and infrastructure. And these conversations are happening very actively. So if you have members or if you're located in a specific area, I'm thinking, Mario, for example, you in Orange County, happy to connect with you offline, but you can call people in Orange County who are actually doing this work and working directly with the CPUC on this. This exists in each of your regions all across the state. If you have questions about who to call in your region, we call them local consortia. They're organizations funded by the California Public Utilities Commission to engage people like you. So there's sort of that, not just the state level public engagement, but there's also local level engagement that's tied into this $2 billion. And then these adoption programs, you're like, what does adoption mean? It's what we in the health world would call outreach and enrollment for our public programs. And there's a publicly subsidized internet program that I know that we've talked about before. It's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. And there's money, so also for community-based organizations, you can actually apply to the California Public Utilities Commission and get paid to enroll people in this subsidized program. Very exciting. And so we'll also add in the link back to a couple of our previous presentations that have links to each of these in there that talk, a link to your consortia page, a link to the ACP program. But just so you know, they're all part of this bigger, different pillars of this broader broadband for all initiative. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I just put in a question in the chat was the program you're referring to in Orange County, is that the one that they refer to as TEAM, as that's funded by the CPUC?
Probably, yeah. I would expect that. Mm-hmm.
I know it's a statewide initiative. I think Self-Help for the Elderly up in San Francisco is, I believe, the lead of the collaboratives that runs it. But I wasn't sure if it was still active or not. I remember seeing it a couple of years ago, but I didn't know if it still existed. The TEAM Collaborative.
Yeah, let me see here, the TEAM Collaborative. Some of these are defunct, some of them are not.
It's an acronym for Telecommunications, Education, and Assistance in Multiple Languages.
Oh, interesting. Might be a little different. I could see. We know self-help for the elderly, and they're fantastic. And I don't know if they're still doing work in this area. Let me see. You know, Orange County might not have a consortium.
I know years ago.
Yeah.
I forget how long ago. But I know we did. I think we had a program, a staff that was helping to do teamwork changes, but it's been a long time, and then we stopped it. I thought the groups continued, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if they still exist or not.
Yeah, I'll show you guys what I'm looking at. So I just looked up CPUC consortia, and so these are the consortium that exist with a contact and their website. And there is not, you can click on them. There's a drop down menu, and you can see where your county or counties are listed. There's not one for Orange County. So that might be, if you have, sometimes you'll have like an area, trying to think, SACOG, like they're called COGs, Council on Governments, that are kind of like a regional council on governments that usually bring cities together in an area. And those also we've seen, like in San Diego, for example, they have a consortium, but they're SANDAG, it's an area of government, San Diego area of governments. They're really active, and they have really active work. So yeah, Mario, we can definitely do some research with you if you want, and see if there are folks in Orange County who are working on this. It's a really good point and question. And that's sort of part of our issue, is that some of these consortia are really active and really great. We found that the LA one, and in the Central Valley, they've got a 9-county consortium, and same in Sacramento. They're really active and easy to contact. Humboldt is as well, and others are not quite as active. So if you need help getting in touch with people, let us know. Any other questions? Excuse me on that.
Katie, this is Sonal. Given, since you walked us through the three, like there sounds like three different efforts going around on the broadband for all, is there one or two that you recommend from a healthcare perspective that we get more involved in than others? Like the adoption one, the right one to spend more time with, just out of curiosity? Where do you think we should spend our efforts? Yeah,
I think that's a really great question. So let me share my screen again, and I'll show you the two places, where you can start to listen, and I think depending on your healthcare, what your group does, I think also matters, right? So if you're representing hospitals or a health plan, folks with very large or affiliated with sort of large facilities or clinics, this middle mile broadband committee is really important for you to listen into, because this is telling you where those big things of fiber are going, and if they're coming into your community or not. And if they're not, listening in, you can see here, they meet monthly. Their next meeting is September 16th, so a week from tomorrow, next Friday. Really easy to join their Zoom meeting, and they just kind of walk you through where they are. It's really easy also to just raise your hand and give public comment and say, hi, I'm Katie Hydorn from ITEP. You really need, really hope that you reach out to the health community on this, or this is really important to our organization, because very easy to do that. The second one is, if you want something a little more general, is the California Broadband Council. As I said, they meet a little less often, but their next meeting is October 12th. So in about a month, usually on a Friday morning. And again, it's very easy to submit. You can just see here, submit public comment. Oh, there we go. And it's very easy. It's just a public comment form. You hit submit, and they usually read it out loud, or sometimes they'll surprise you and they'll say, hey, unmute, raise your hand and unmute your line. That's always exciting as well. But that one's a little more general, where they walk through sort of that whole broader picture. You get updates on last mile, middle mile, what they call adoption grants. So this one's, I would listen into those two for right now. That's where you're going to get sort of that state level broadband. If you want to get really excited about it, and sort of our next two we're going to bring in a couple speakers at our next meeting in October. One of them actually runs something called the California Alliance for Digital Equity. It's a statewide coalition that some of you may have heard about, but it's a really great way to get involved with what's going on in the broadband policy area from a sort of consumer advocacy perspective. And they're very much looking for health entities to join that and listen into that coalition. They're in the process of creating their policy priorities for next year, and they're really excited to come and talk to this group and preview what they're doing. They also are funding a couple groups and consultants who actually can help you get through the very difficult process to become a public commenter at the California Public Utilities Commission. It's not nearly as simple as this, but they actually have some technical assistance and will probably line up a training for this group in case you have people who are doing that type of work. All right. Other questions? Thanks, Mario. Are there any maps? Yes, there are a bunch of maps. They're a little hard to read. But I will show you where they are here. They're on that same website. They're on that same website that we were on. So these are the 3 broadband initiatives. And then as you just scroll straight down, they have tons of tools here that I think can be really helpful as you're looking at your community. You can do speed tests. You can look at the broadband maps. So we'll just click on that. They're really hard to read. The maps are very difficult. But they're interactive, and so you can play around with this. They have a lot of different layers. It's in mostly gobbledygook. This is a good one to see. Community anchor institutions are on here. They're pretty tough to read, where when you go and listen and look at, I think the best place to go, you can play around with this, which I think it is correctly shown us in Sacramento. When you look at these maps, I think the what's more helpful is that in the presentations that folks are showing at the Middle Mile Advisory Council committee meetings, those ones you can actually see the lines where they're going to be drawing and building all of that fiber. Let me go back to that real quick so you can see where that is. So you go to the Middle Mile Broadband Initiative, and then here's their site. Here's their meetings, and I should have. Yeah, so here's a good one. The Golden State Network, Middle Mile Network Design. Golden State Net is the vendor that's actually creating this and building it. Let me see if there's a map. Yeah, here's a good map. You can see here. So TPA down here in the little, hopefully you all can see that in the little key here. TPA means third party administrator. That's Golden State Net. They're a company called CENIC, CENIC. And this is what they have proposed, how they've proposed to do this. So I wish they would overlay it on like major throughways, but you can sort of see here where like I-5 is going, for example, I-5 and 99. And those are good places for you to go and ask and say, hey, is it going in this area? This is really important to me. So there's a lot of really good information on here. And we can send these out as well. Any other questions? Okay. So that was really all I wanted to do today, was just highlight when the next 2 meetings are going to be. We're going to meet again. Thanks, Lily, for joining. Please hop off and we'll talk to you soon. So glad that these resources are helpful. We'll keep sending them out. Next time we'll have someone from that coalition come and talk and share how you all can get engaged at the state level in policy conversations. Thanks, Jennifer. And we'll go from there. We're really excited about this, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks for joining. All right, take care. Bye.
Thanks.